Not many of us should aspire to become teachers, is how James begins chapter 3. Why? Because James asserts that teachers will be held to a higher standard of judgment and accountability. Now, this is not a verse you will find in the flyer used by your church to attract church school teachers to volunteer their time and talent. While this verse is not the greatest one to attract a person to teach, once a person decides to become a teacher, this verse should never be forgotten. This verse and its implications hold true in any kind of school and is not limited only to church schools. While the teaching of James in chapter 3 is universal, I'll limit my reflection of this chapter to teachers and focus on two big thoughts mentioned in it: a teacher's words and a teacher's wisdom. What is the reason that teachers are held to a higher, stricter standard of accountability? The reason is simple. It's all about the influence they have. The impact of the words and the wisdom of teachers is far-reaching. So is their responsibility. If James wrote today, he probably would have used a different metaphor to warn teachers of the importance of controlling the words they use. He wrote, "Similarly, the tongue is a small part of the body, but it makes great boasts. Consider what a great forest is set on fire by just a small spark." Instead of a fire and forest, I think James would have used the metaphor of a viral video running on social media today. James uses a lot of negative and harsh words to describe our tongue, saying it defiles the whole body, that it's untamable and a restless evil full of deadly poison. But this doesn't mean that James does not recognize the value and goodness of tongues, because he said, when controlled, the words flowing from our tongues can bless and praise, and it can produce refreshing fresh water. This can be said of many viral videos as well that can and do bless people. So a teacher or anyone else among us who is an influencer should control their words so that they can bless and provide refreshing water and help others to bear good fruit. Let me end the reflection on words and tongues by quoting the powerful metaphor used by James while describing how the small tongue can have a huge impact when he compares it and writes about it as the rudder of a big ship. Take ships as an example. Although they are so large and are driven by strong winds, they are steered by a very small rudder. Wherever the pilot wants to go, likewise, the tongue is a small part of the body. Next, James turns his focus on wisdom and distinguishes between earthly and heavenly wisdom. It's interesting to know that James focuses on the behavior aspect of the traits he mentions. Teachers should not demonstrate earthly wisdom, because teachers who do are self-centered, displaying selfish ambition, jealousy, and they boastfully lie. For these teachers, students are just an audience, and the classroom is a stage to satisfy their needs for recognition, power, and to create dependency. As Jesus says in Matthew 23, 7-8, they love to be greeted with respect in the marketplace and to be called rabbi or teacher by others. But you are not to be called teacher, for you have one teacher and you are all brothers. But teachers should use the wisdom from above, which is essentially pure, peaceable, gentle, and reasonable, satisfied with less than what it's due, full of mercy and good fruits, without a trace of partiality and free from hypocrisy. Unlike the selfish teachers using earthly wisdom, the ones using heavenly wisdom are spirit-filled and put the interest of their learners first. Teachers like you and me should gently correct and accept reasonable and bona fide mistakes. We must be generous and satisfied with reasonable performance. It is also important for teachers to be impartial and not discriminate when teaching or encouraging students. They must be the same for all. Teachers should be free from deceit and hypocrisy and should not try to win admiration of students by sugarcoating important issues or tickling their ears and telling them what they like to hear. Of course, while I have kept my focus on teachers, these principles hold true for leaders and anyone who exerts influence. So may we all use our words and wisdom with consideration and thoughtfulness so that we create forest fires and viral messages that lead to good life and righteousness.